Yo, what's going on, guys? This is Houston Sports Talk back into the video day, and today we're going to be talking about the Toronto Raptors potentially trading for Joel Embiid this offseason. It was reported yesterday by NBA Central that the betting favorite to land Joel Embiid this offseason, if he is not a Philadelphia 76er, is the Toronto Raptors. And I thought this was really interesting, and I wanted to talk about a potential Joel Embiid to Toronto trade. I think it's unclear as of right now in February, almost in March, whether in the offseason the 76ers will trade Joel Embiid or not. I don't know if the 76ers, even though this season has been a failure, if they'll go into complete, decide to, we need to get rid of everybody. I don't know about everybody. I mean, like Maxey, I think you try to build around guys like Maxey and Jared McCain. But is there a current potential chance that Paul George or Joel Embiid gets moved this offseason? And with the way Paul George has struggled this year and sometimes has been injured, and the way Joel Embiid, we won't say struggled because he's been great when he's on the floor, but he's been very injured, and that's been a good part of his entire career, as he's never played a full season in his NBA career. And look, I let's not complain that he's never played a full season in his career, because that's really hard to do for a lot of guys, for most of the guys in the NBA. But also, not going to act like he's never even reached 70 games in a year in his career. So, guys that even are out there all the time miss a game or two or three, maybe even five. But this guy has never had a season where he doesn't miss double-digit games in a season. Just we can go to the 2019-20 season. We can start off his career, 16-17 season, only played 31 games. 17-18 season, played 63 games, which means he missed 19. Then 2018-19 season, did up it by one, played 64 games, but still missed 18 games. 2019-20 season, played 51 games. I know that was the shortened season because of the bubble. I think that was still a 71-72 game season, so still missed around 20 games that year. 2020-21 season, I know that was a 72-game season. They did cut that down, so he missed 21 games. The 2021-22 season was back to 82 games. Played 68, missed 14. You want to go to 2022-23 season, played 66, which means he missed 16. Last year, played only 39 games, which means he missed 43 games. And then this season, the Sixers have played almost 60 games so far, and he has played only 19. He's not even played in half of their games. So there's not a question of can he be good. You look at Paul George, he's really struggling right now. And he's actually, sure, he's had injuries, but he's been available for a good part of the season. He's been way more available than Joel Embiid has been. You look at Paul George, the question I think for him is more of him struggling and not being injured. But with Joel Embiid, it's not him playing bad basketball, because this guy's averaging 24 points per game with 8 rebounds per game, 5 assists per game, 1 block per game, almost 1 steal per game, and only playing 30 minutes a night, which is the lowest minutes a night he has got since the 2019-20 season. So having those numbers, 24 and 8, 5, with good defensive numbers, and only 30 minutes per game, is great. Last year, averaged 34 minutes per game and averaged 35 points per game and 11 rebounds per game with 6 assists per game and 2 blocks per game, 1 steal per game. Look, I know that the numbers are down this year, but if he's playing 34 minutes per game this season, I think those numbers are pretty close. I think he'd probably be averaging 27 and 10 this year, which is still really good if he's averaging the same amount of minutes he averaged last year. But obviously he's not, because injuries have been a big problem for him this year. Now, but why would Toronto be interested in him? I think Toronto's trying to get out of this rebuild quick. They have a good amount of draft picks in order to get this deal done. They got some solid draft picks that they got for Pascal Siakam, which they used they used some of those draft picks in the Brandon Ingram trade. They used one. They got 3 first-round picks for Pascal Siakam, and they used one of them in that trade. So they still have 2 left. They still have 2 left from that Siakam trade, and good draft capital of their own. Not to mention, they got some draft capital from the Knicks in that OG Anunoby trade. But I don't know. I feel like if you look at this Raptors team and what the potential trade would be for them, you add in Joel Embiid to this team. To me, it just feels like this current 76ers team. I'm going to be honest, because you have your 3 best players. Your 3 best players would be Joel Embiid, Scotty Barnes, and Brandon Ingram. And I think that'd be a great trio in Toronto, right? But to me, it just reminds me a lot of of Philly's big 3 right now. Because with Scotty Barnes, you got the big young star that can play great basketball and can stay healthy for you, like Tyrese Maxey has been for the 76ers this year. With Joel Embiid, you got Joel Embiid, just like Joel Embiid's been for the Sixers this year. Gets injured, plays great basketball when he's healthy, but cannot stay on the court. And then get to Brandon Ingram. Injuries, just like Paul George, reminds me a lot like Paul. I think he's better than Paul George. I hate to say that. Just with the way, look, as an overall player, we're going to look at their careers. Paul George is obviously a better player. But this season, the way that these 2 guys are playing right now, Ingram is the better player as of right now. The way things have gone this year. And so, you ask me, Ingram's the better player. So maybe we'll look at Scotty, Joel, and Brandon Ingram. Maybe that's a better trio than Joel, Paul George, and Tyrese Maxey. Maybe they can play better basketball together. I don't know. That's very possible. But I still see 2 injury-prone players in Toronto, just like I do in Philadelphia with Paul George and Joel Embiid. I think it'd be the same thing in Toronto with Brandon Ingram and Joel. And I think there would be many games, just like we've seen in Philadelphia. We've seen many games where Tyrese Maxey has to take over the torch. And he has to play in these games. Now, I feel like Scotty Barnes would have to do the same thing. Now, here's the good thing about this, though. The good thing I will say about this is, if this is they trade for Joel Embiid, and obviously they have Brandon Ingram, those 2 guys weren't available on the night. Now, Scotty does have something that I don't think Tyrese Maxey has, as of at least what he hasn't had most of the season, is an RJ Barrett. Or, having a guy like Grady Dick. Having guys like that. I'm not going to say Emmanuel Quickly, because I do think he'd be involved in this trade. But having a guy like RJ Barrett, I think that, and he'd be the 4th best player on this team. That's the scary part, I think. So you have Scotty and RJ, God forbid Joel Embiid and Ingram aren't available on a night. But can you imagine a lineup of, having Joel you have Joel at the 5, you have Ingram at the 4, you have Scotty at the 1, RJ at the 2. I don't know who would be at the 3. Maybe it's Grady. Maybe it's whoever they draft this year. I think they try to keep away their current draft pick in a Joel Embiid trade. I don't know if they can make that work, but I don't think they'd want to trade their current draft pick this year. They still have plenty enough draft capital to make this deal work for Joel Embiid, even if they don't include their draft pick that they will have in this upcoming draft in June. So, but maybe Toronto would be in a better position than Philadelphia has been if Scotty has to take over the torch, if Joel and Brandon Ingram aren't active, and maybe he'd be in a better position than Tyrese Maxey has been without Paul George and Joel Embiid. But look, I think Toronto would turn into a team that is competitive in the East. I don't think it's very hard to be that good in the Eastern Conference. I think in the Eastern Conference right now, as of right now, the way things look, I think there are only a couple of teams you really look at and you're scared of in the East. I think you got the Celtics and you got the Cavs and the Knicks and the Bucks. I think with the way the Pistons have looked this year, they're up and coming, maybe in the Pacers. But outside of that, I don't think it's that hard to rise up in the East. Like, you've seen how easy it's been from the Pistons this year to go from the 15th seed in the Eastern Conference to all the way to the 6th seed that they are now, and they're like only one game back from being the 4th seed. Now, I'm not saying that the East being bad in a weak conference is the only reason why the Pistons have been better this year, because they made great additions to this roster this year. Cade has been fantastic, and their coaching has been great with JV Bickerstaff. But it's not hard to improve in the East. You've seen it with the Pistons this year. You can take a big jump. So the Raptors can do that next year, even if Joel Embiid doesn't play a full season, which you already know he can't do that. Even if Brandon Ingram can't play a full season. So I could see Toronto being a play-in or playoff team next season with Brandon Ingram, Scotty Barnes, and Joel Embiid, knowing that both those guys, Ingram and Joel Embiid, won't play, 60 games. Well, I think Ingram can give you 60 games, but I don't know if Joel can. And so, but does that take Joel Embiid's trade value down? Because if he's healthy, he can play some great basketball for you. Do the Raptors want to take that chance on him? And my thing is, I think the 76ers are, even though he's got some injury problems, and there's really been a lot of injury problems, sure, that might take his trade value a lot down, but I still think they're gonna be really high on him in trade talks. And I think player-wise, I think Emmanuel Quickley is involved, young 25-year-old point guard, shooting guard, and you can pair him nicely next to Tyrese Maxey, or you can plug him in off the bench. And so Quickley this year's averaged 28 minutes per game, shooting 41% from the floor, 38% from three, 16 points per game, 6 assists per game, 1 steal per game, with 3 rebounds per game. Then also, Joel Embiid's gone. You need a new replacement. Jakob Poeltl, I think, would be involved in this trade. He still has 2 years left on his deal. This year, averaging 14 points per game with 10 rebounds per game, shooting 61% from the floor. Also, he has averaged 1 steal per game and well over 1 block per game. He'd be a solid addition for the team. And then also, the third and final player I have, Philadelphia getting in this trade, would be Jacoby Walter, who is the Raptors' 19th overall draft pick in the past 2024 NBA draft. And this year he's played in 39 games with 9 starts, 19 minutes per game, shooting 40% from the floor, averaging 8 points per game, 2.6 rebounds per game. I think he'd be a solid addition for this Raptors team. For the 76ers team. So obviously, you get Walter, you get Quickley, and you get Poeltl. I think those are solid additions to get for Joel Embiid. But I think the main thing that Philadelphia would get in this trade, which helps them out, is draft capital. I think you could be looking at 3-4 first-round picks going to Philadelphia in this trade. So if you can get like 4 first-round picks, Quickley, Jakob Poeltl, and Jacoby Walter, maybe a couple second-round picks with those 4 first-round picks, maybe it's time to decide to send away Joel Embiid. Let me know your thoughts on the potential trade in the comment section, and peace out.